Namaste everybody. This is Radhika Chopra. Welcome to my YouTube channel for my YouTube viewers as well as Instagram live video. Hi, can you hear me clearly so that we can just do a sound check before I proceed? Okay, so I'm just waiting for a few more people to join in to give me a signal that that my voice is audible so that this video is as clear as possible. Okay, so I have a yes for that. So I'm going to just jump in today because first of all, I'm going to introduce my guest. Today, my guest is special to me because she is also a friend. Actually, she is my virtual friend more than my literal friend. I haven't really met her that much, but we have met online and we have been connected on the phone, and I have actually done an interview with her where she interviewed me about anxiety disorders and on those topics. So my guest name is Pooja Bhimra. She has been a yoga practitioner for almost 17 years, and she has been a yoga teacher for over a decade. When I was talking to her and about her journey, it really fascinated me because one is I have observed her and I have seen her approach to life. Her energy really appeals to me, and you will know why. So she has always been a very athletic person, as she says, so always inclined to, outdoor athletics, totally opposite of me, of course. And so she started practicing yoga after her children were born. And because she was always inclined to sports, she has been an instructor with Reebok and she was training people. So when she started yoga, now yoga as a process does change a lot about you, not only physically, but at deeper levels, at your psyche, and it changes the way you look at life, perhaps. So she started looking at health from a perspective of well-being, not about being thin and trendy, and not about the aesthetic part of health, but truly the fundamentals of health. So she explored a lot about the diets, and there are a lot of diets that are going around. People are experimenting with different diets, and so she got herself rooted back into the more traditional, which is Ayurveda. So the reason to do this video today and to have her on board is because yoga is something that we hear so much. It is practice, and it's really more than asana. And also yoga is not about physical exercise, but it works at deeper level. It works at the level of consciousness, at your psyche, and so many things. So without much delay, I'm going to bring her on. And just before I get her on here, I just want to ask my viewers that Pooja and I are, people who like to go with the flow. We are not strategists. We are not really planning what we're going to say and how this is going to look. So we're really appearing right here, right now, as it is, just eager to share our knowledge and to bring this knowledge to everybody, whoever's interested. So I would ask you all to please participate and ask your questions, which will really bring some life into this conversation, and you will get what you are seeking. So Pooja, if you can send me a request, and I can bring you on and we can start from there. So we're going to wait for Pooja. I'm waiting also for more people to join in. Hello everyone who's joined in so far. Thank you so much for showing up. As I said, your questions will be most welcome. So hi Pooja.
Hi Radhika, can you see me clearly? Like I'm just trying to adjust the camera.
I can see you clearly. I can hear you clearly. which is good.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And it was, I don't know what to say about it, but it was totally heartfelt. And yeah, I think what you said right was that, we're not strategists. We're here to just catch on with what's coming through us in the moment, in the space, and nothing pre-decided to what we are going to do here. So it's just a common platform for both of us on sharing our common notes. And also,
Yes.
you've been inspiring as well as I keep on hopping onto your astrology post, and it is so connected, everything is interconnected very much. It's intertwined, all of this, what we're talking today is all intertwined.
Absolutely. So, Pooja, just so I did introduce you as a yoga teacher. There are many yoga teachers, and we all tend to have attended, most of us go for a yoga class at some point or the other.
Yeah,
So I also know that we share a common interest as well as love for the knowledge of Ayurveda, which is our very basic tradition, very
yes,
deeply rooted. And I think in the last 1 year, people are sort of accessing it more, realizing it more, as to how much our fundamental health matters. It's not about looking beautiful or having a waist that is so thin, and and the aesthetics of it is where people tend to go, because we have so many standards that have been set by people as to what looks beautiful and what is nice, and so people are in the quest for it. Women tend to get more trapped into it because we are always comparing. I've noticed in my own social circles, people are, you can almost read how women are always comparing how they look compared to other people, and that's
yeah,
usually based on the tiniest clothes that they can fit into, and they're always talking about I'm fat, and no one is talking about health, right? And
absolutely.
so I my first question to you, or my first conversation, is really about the Ayurveda part of it. So we know that we are different body types. Like, you have a different body, and I have a different
Absolutely.
body. We
Yeah,
have not only a different body, we have a different mental makeup, approach to life, emotional makeup. So we are very unique in our expression, and we also change. Even that body type, that personality type also changes with time. So
right.
could you shed some light or your perspective on that?
Okay, so I remember you in the beginning of the session, you mentioned that, I'm more of an outdoor person and you're more of the indoor person, the opposite. So there comes a difference, like, so I think there is too much on the net for people to discover, but like Ayurveda says, there are three different doshas, or we all are born with a different prakriti, right? So there's Vat, there is Pitta, and there is Kapha. So being a very vast personality and very, outgoing and physical and movement oriented is what is my dosha. So obviously, I'm
Right.
going to connect to that thing of always on the move, always on being, very, very active and movement and creation and doing something new all the time. And, there's one thing after the other, one thing seeing the other. And there are so many things to it. It's not only the personality, it's how you think, and then how your digestion is there, and what kind of foods attract you, what kind of exercise you should be doing and not doing. And there are times of the day which are actually in Ayurveda divided according to the Vat, Pitta, and Kapha. So everything is rotated according to this and the five elements, which we call the Panch Mahabhuta, like, what we call the five elements, which is talked about every day, air, water, ether, space, and fire. So they're all, they work in correlation to govern our doshas and to govern our personalities. And when you read it in the text, in the scriptures, they are so wisely written that, everything of that connects with you. Like, it would be literally that, okay, I'm reading about a Vat like if, for example, I'm reading about a dosha which is Vat dominant and has a little bit of Pitta in it. So Pitta would be a very fiery, a fiery kind of a person which has a good digestion. Pitta means your Agni, which is governed by fire and water. So there would be, if there's a contrast of these two, then there would be variations in the personality of the person, of the way the person thinks, the way the person's intellect works, and the way you are, you are governing your life. You are literally conducting everything like a Pitta person. Like I see you as more of a Pitta and Kapha, which is a combination. I could be wrong, but what happens is that every phase of our life, from the time we are born, when we go into adolescence, and then we go into our adulthood, these doshas keep changing. Like we are in a certain dosha. So when we are born in the Kapha period of life, where the
Right.
kids from 0 to 10, when you see them, they're very susceptible to colds and coughs and so much of all these issues with phlegm and lot of
Correct.
health issues, water related issues. So they are born into that period. When they
Mm-hmm.
move on to the adolescence and the puberty, that's the time the hormones start changing. Everything starts going totally haywire. So that's the time when the fire comes in your life. So the
Correct.
Pitta period starts, and you see women and see young boys and girls with acne, flaring up skins, and people are running to the dermats, and people are running to this, all the specialists and doctors and everything. But we don't realize that that's the way our body is naturally attuned to be going through these phases to come to a balance when we come into adulthood, to bring
Mm-hmm.
that balance. And it's important to experience that, to see that how that in this period of life, okay, this food was going very well with us, and the doctors say, ye nahi dena chote bachcho ko, and don't give this stuff, and this is bad, sugar is bad, because naturally sugar kind of imbalances your
Increase.
kapha. Yeah.
Correct.
So they say that sweet stuff is not good. Then we come to the pitta, and they say that don't have too much of sour stuff, your khatta, and all of that stuff, because that'll imbalance your, already you are in a fire, very agni, your agni is really high, you have a good digestion, but at the same time, if you're going to add, like ghee, agar aag mein ghee or डालते जाओगे, तो what will happen, it'll, the fire will keep on coming up. So we need to
True.
balance that out at that point of time. And that is the time, when children are growing up, parents, children are gaining weight. They go after, they run after nutritionists that iska weight kam karo, isko, the weight is going really
So I
high
think I'm having a bit of a network issue, Pooja.
from my, okay.
So I had a bit of a network issue. You kind of froze for a minute. So
Is it
yeah.
okay
So
now?
there is a little break in the voice as well. Yeah, but there is a
Uh,
little break. So I
hold,
don't know.
hold on,
It's probably
hold
an
on.
internet issue. So yeah.
Just see now if it's going to be all right. Let me know. Is it okay
Okay,
now?
so let's go on. Let's because yeah, I mean you're okay. You're there right now. So yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying that, when children are going through the teenage period, parents get so worried about their weight gain, and they start giving them different kind of diets. They start crash diets. They start, putting children on ye nahi khana, and blah blah blah, and you just keep cutting down on weight. And what happens eventually, that's the time period when your body needs to, when it's growing, when it needs all the essential things in a certain balance. And if you're going to remove that one by one, you are going to be in depletion of that as you grow further in your adulthood. When the
Right.
vata time starts, and the vata time starts, it starts drying up everything in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially for women, women go through menopause, and that time vata is really on a peak. The hormonal
Correct.
issues are really, ascending. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to be very, very careful that when your children are growing, you're giving them a combination of food, or if you know someone who is deep rooted with the ancient knowledge, give them ghar ka simple khana with the addition of balance of all the six tastes, which we say in Ayurveda is a must. In your
Correct.
plate, you need to have all the six tastes, the rasas. So if you're going to give them more of fried for Pitta people, for the Pitta stage, they are going to keep on feeling bloated and uncomfortable, and they'll keep going on with their weight. So it's a side effect, of what you eat.
So, one of the things that I note about people is, first of all, because we are a certain dosha at a certain period of time, we tend to want to, like you'll see, when you just said give kids ghar ka khana, I'm sure all the mothers who have heard this or will hear this are going to say, but they don't listen, and that's not happening. Because we have a lot of pitta dominant food. The fast food is,
Yeah,
there's a lot of fried food, there's a lot of fast food, everything is fast, and fast is pitta nature anyway, right? And
absolutely.
people tend to do that. When you said about the 6 days, one of the things that occurred with that observation is how much we have taken away those essentials from our plate.
Yeah,
Like, I never understood that when you see a traditional thali, you will see salt, you will always see a pickle, you will
of
always
course.
have ghee, you will
Yeah,
always have all the food, like you will have rice, you will have bajri roti and things like that. So there are a lot of traditional foods that were on a thali, and we have taken it away. Like, there are a lot of people, so women at a certain stage, when you said that menopause is when the vata goes high, so one of the counter, how to counter vata would probably to help other doshas, say probably
yeah,
kapha at that moment, or
kapha.
pitta,
Yeah,
whatever is for the body. And I notice a lot of people tend to go into raw diets, uh, take away ghee, because they're scared they'll get fat, and have to take away the fats. And what they're doing is they're increasing vata, which in turn affects the bones and things like that. So I think we don't have, unfortunately, we have this incorrect information. I'm not even going to say incomplete information. There's sometimes very incorrect information, which has been, you know, I don't know where it comes from, so I don't want to go into any controversy there. I'm not talking about East being better than West and things like that.
of
It's just that
course.
we don't
Yeah,
have the right information, and people have taken away. And even in the West, people at a certain age, you and certain conditions. If you lived in the north, in the mountains where it snowed, people would have a high fat diet. They would have more grains in their diet because it's warming for the body and things like
of
that.
course. Yeah,
So you're so right that all the taste that are need to be there, and we need to look at our plates once more, as we need to read our labels of the food we buy. We need to look at our plates again, and we need to see what is it that I have taken away, and we need to check with our bodies, right?
right.
And you have been a yoga teacher. Now, I know going to a yoga class, right? We do asanas, we do different things. So we all know sun salutations, we all know bhujangasana and whatnot. Okay, so we feel that, and we hear that, okay, this helps, this back bend will help in this posture, it'll help this bone, it'll help you reduce weight here, or whatever that people think. But what does it do beyond that in terms of doshas? Could you please tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, so as Ayurveda goes by the principles of Ayurveda, since this is one scripture, literally a scripture, which is not supposed to be scientifically modified. That is one thing about it. What is written. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't scientifically keep modifying according to your convenience. So that's one good thing about it, that science keeps changing, but Ayurveda doesn't change. Ayurveda stays the way it is. So that's how your doshas are, and doshas stay the way you are, but it's in your hand. Now, if you connect it with yoga, for a person like you, who is a pitta and a kapha dominant person, So for you, a moderate amount of exercise or moderate amount of posture till you start really sweating out on your face is really, really good. But going beyond that point, okay, that is if to your Pitta and Kapha are in balance, okay. So if you go beyond that, pushing yourself, you're going to build up more heat in your system by nature. And then that what it does is that starts creating the imbalance, because the trend as per se now is, I watch my son who's, he was training and he used to train and he's into bodybuilding and everything. But the thing is that they overdo their joints. They do so much of weightlifting, and so because they are in that pitta stage where they're just charged up, they just want to do so much. But eventually what it does, it kind of starts affecting your body internally. And it is not good for our joints, because our body doesn't need so much exercise that you go to a point of exhaustion and depletion of everything in your body at
Right.
whatever age. You have a routine set for you that every day you're giving this amount of time, about half an hour or 45 minutes. Good, that your system is working. And there are even certain postures that we recommend. Okay, so this kind of a person would do well, and it would create a little more heat in the body. So, because when we see the day, like there are certain people who like to work out in the morning and certain like to work out in the evening. So that's again
Right.
a kind of personality you are. So I love to work out in the mornings, because then it's just the time that my body gets charged up and I feel very ready for the day, because uh, it's like 6 to 10 is the kapha time when you should just get your body to good movement, because kapha means people are lazy by nature naturally. So that's the time
Right.
you can push yourself out and get out of bed, work out, so your metabolic rate starts kicking in. And some people like to do that very early in the morning. Supposedly, if I am going to be working out at 5 in the morning, when it's 2 to 6, the Vata time, I'm going to push my Vata to a point that I'll be extremely energetic and then I'll tire myself down by the middle of the day. So,
Right. Right.
over exercising and doing any kind of postures which, push you to a point that your body cannot take it, but you're still pushing it. We all should listen to our body, and that's
Right.
what creates an imbalance. So even if you're doing 5 postures, do them for 2 to 3 minutes with repetitions, so that you start feeling the effect of that posture. You don't have to do the whole thing in one go to achieve something, because ultimately what's it going to achieve for you?
Right.
What is the
Right.
target? I want to know, what is the target? Everyone can't look like Sushmita Sen or Katrina Kaif. If that's your target goal, I'm sorry, that's not happening. It's not
Right.
reality.
True.
So that's what I meant.
I can actually give you a feedback from what you just said, because um, I sat and analyzed my body type, and we had a conversation on this. And I'm very obvious there is a huge pitta element, but I and also feel my vata gets imbalanced, and that tends to happen. We all tend to have a vata imbalance by nature because of the world we live in.
Right,
Our gizmos, our everything is moving constantly. We are traveling constantly, so it's a very vata lifestyle that we have. We are all in our
right,
heads, not in our
totally.
bodies. We are thinking so much, so the vata naturally tends to get aggravated for all of us. A lot of us have
Right.
brain fog, fatigue, and things like that. Now, I've noticed about my own exercise, and when I used to have a yoga regime with my teacher, is whenever I did core, she used to always tell me to go easy, because the core exercises would aggravate pitta. And she
Of
had
course.
that sense of knowing my body, and she knew it. And I have seen that when I do very strenuous cardio, because everybody else is walking so fast and everybody says you have to walk for an hour, I did that for a while and I had the most debilitating migraine headaches, because I know the heat moves to my head. Okay.
Head.
So, and then my whole head is actually
warm to hot till most part of the day. And then I am miserable, right? I realized that I have to start listening to my body. That means a medium paced walk for a shorter amount of time at a cooler time in the day is what works for me. So I don't
Right.
have to see how much she is walking and what she is achieving. I have to look at my own body and see what I want to do. And sometimes I give my body varied activities, but 100% when I do very heavy cardio workouts or core aggravating, where the core intensity workouts, where the pitta increases, I need to do it in a very controlled and a mindful way,
Right.
because and that's the thing. I think people do all they we all don't know what is the exercise best suited for me, what will actually bring. So for me, we have to. I think, Pooja, what is the definition of health? A lot of people look at health as just, how my body looks. But I think as time goes by and as health becomes more valuable to us, we realize that health is not about how my body looks, but how I
Totally.
feel, even mentally, how I feel emotionally, how the cycles of my body are. And there's so many different indicators.
Totally.
So I think we have to redefine what health means. And you also said that different times of exercise, you know, there are people who exercise very late into the night, which even according to
Really
Chinese
not a good,
tradition, it's absolutely not recommended, right?
not
Your body
recommended.
must
Yeah.
go into more relaxation and rest. And while people think they can sustain it, there's a huge wear and tear that's happening under the surface. Am I right? Yeah.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
So can you share with us certain asanas, which are helpful for? So if you can tell me one or two asanas which are good for Pitta types, one or two for Vata and for Kapha. So could you share that?
Sure. So, Surya Namaskar is one thing which is good for every dosha type. All the doshas can do it in a moderation and in a way that, and Kapha can do it much more. If Pitta can do 7 to 8, Kapha can do at least 10 to 12 rounds of it because they need to push their body more. So that's one thing which contains a lot of postures. Surya Namaskar is something which each of us can do, like all the dosha types. And then if you would say to few asanas, then I would say that more than asana, there is also pranayam, which Ayurveda really recommends each each body type, each dosha type. So supposedly Brahmari is something for people who are Vata type, who have a very mind
Active.
oriented, active
Yeah.
mind, and nervous system gets a little affected. So Brahmari kind of numbs your senses and it brings you back, you know. And Brahmari is good for grounding. And, sometimes Kapha by nature are very grounded people as it is, so they can go to sleep if they do things like that, so it would be, they need
Yeah.
something to charge up.
Right.
So, so Brahmari is something which Vata can do. And for Pitta types, I would say that, the alternate nostril, which is the
Anulom
Nadi
Vilom.
Shodhan, yeah, the
Uh,
Nadi Shodhan also, which is also good for all dosha types and a must. Everyone should be doing at least 8 to 10 rounds of Nadi Shodhan every day. And that too, when you start your dincharya, you clear your bowel, and then you sit to do your pranayam, not without that. And coming to more asanas, if I say so, for start with kapha. So kapha would require, I would say they would like a little more strenuous thing. So good back bends would be great for, Bhujangasana would be wonderful. Bhujangasana,
okay.
about 2 minutes or so in coming into the repetition of inhaling and exhaling and going down and up for about a minute into different variations. Bhujangasana is very good. And if you can do Urdhva Dhanurasana, which is Chakrasana or the wheel pose, if you have a flexible back, that's an excellent posture to charge up your spine because then the energy moves from the spine, right? So you start using that asana as like a charger. And then there is camel pose, where you go again in a variation of camel pose. There are 3 variations you can go. And in a forward bend, Paschimottanasana is great to move, improve the flexibility for kapha. So there are 3 to 4 I told you. One is the Bhujangasana, one is your wheel pose or Urdhva Dhanurasana, then you can do either camel pose and then Paschimottanasana. So these 3-4 postures are great for kapha. But if you are not very happy with the back bends and you're not very open in your back, then there are postures like spinal twist, which you can do sitting, Matsyendra Asana, or you can do, sitting postures. You have yoga mudra, where you can bring your, legs in Padmasana or Ardha Padmasana, half lotus, or Sukhasana, and do the yoga mudra. So these are varied asanas which they can do, perform daily. These are great. And when you come to,
Please continue, because somebody is asking age-related exercises that one should avoid. So, if you can,
so,
after completing, I shouldn't
yes, I will.
have.
I will answer that question. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. So the thing is that for Pitta, the forward bends are great. You can do a couple of Surya Namaskars, warm up your body. The most important thing, what I would like to pinpoint for everyone is first to mobilize the joints, which people just don't do. So mobilizing each and every joint with simple movements is the most important way to start moving your body. And then you start when your body is in 10 minutes a little warmed up, that your joints feel a little bit of heat in it, then you start with the postures. So for Pitta types, I would say start with 5 to 6 rounds or 7 rounds of Surya Namaskar, and then go into forward bends like Hasta Padangushtasana and Padhastasana, where you are just stretching your legs, because you need to work on your legs also, extremities also. Then you have, the tree pose, the balancing on one leg. You can do that.
Right.
A great posture to center yourself, to focus yourself. And then you can Paschimottanasana, I would recommend for everyone, because we all need to strengthen the lower part of the body, which most of the people are tight, the hip area. And Upavishtakonasana, which is the split, the straddle position, or we call the pancakes, when you open the legs in a V and you stretch forward.
Right.
And lying down, you can do Sarvangasana, the candle pose, or the half shoulder stand, which we call. And again, that will be not so charging for the core. It will be just good. And then Halasana, which is the inversion. Inversion is also very good. So these 5-6 postures are great for Pitta type, starting with Surya Namaskar and going through each, and then leading yourself eventually to the pranayam. Few rounds of pranayam. Okay. And for Vata type, as it is very mobile in nature, so, they have to limit down their work to a certain, say for 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes is more than enough. Because there are times, when people don't get that kind of time. So you can end up doing a very yin practice, a very grounding practice. So you can start with Surya Namaskars, and then you can start with Tadasana, which is going onto your toes into a certain breathing rhythm. And then you can come into, Trikonasana, the side bends, sideways, all the leg work, basically what we do. We do Parsvakonasana, Trikonasana, then the warrior pose, the standing postures. And then you come to the sitting, when you start with the twisting postures and Paschimottanasana, and 1 or 2 inversions, I would say, would be great. And if you're flexible, do the headstand.
Wow. And I'm listening to all of this, and I'm thinking of the question you once asked me on Instagram, which was interesting, about how does Ayurveda relate to Jyotish, right? Astrology.
Correct. Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Thank you for bringing that up.
what is interesting for me is that these asanas itself, as you have related them, and I kept looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, wow, when she's saying that, moving of joints is so important. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at the notes that I made to share today.
Okay.
And in an astrology, in the basic blueprint or the Lagna Kundli, right, they're divided into 12 houses. And actually those 12 houses, it's called the Kal Purush Kundli, means of the first man, or that original print. Okay, it's actually
Okay.
Vishnu's Kundli, as is this it is said, right? So Kal means time, right? So the time of man is in that 12 houses or bhavas. And each bhava is actually related to different body parts. Like, for example, the first one is your face, right?
Right.
And the second one is your mouth. The third
Okay.
is the joint, the neck joint, so these upper joints. The fourth is the chest, fifth, stomach. The sixth will be the intestines, the upper intestines, right? And your seventh bhava will be like your kidneys and all those aspects are there. Your eighth will be your genital area, anal, and your excretory organs, right? Ninth is your thighs. The 10th is your knees. 11th is your shin, and the 12th is your feet. Now, while I'm listening to you and you're saying people don't move their joints, I just want to share what came to my
That's
mind.
amazing. Yeah.
That, the third house, the sixth house, and the 11th house, these are actually houses that mature with time. Upachaya, they are bhavas,
They
right? They
develop.
mature with time and they're changeable, that you will grow into it. And these are the joints, the hip movements, the foot movements, and things like that. So, that's the first thing that occurred to me, that, well, your asanas also impact these or activate or bring life to these aspects within your life, right? In a way.
Absolutely.
That's how I would
Totally.
see it. And also what you shared about the Pitta, Kapha, and Vata. Now, even in astrology, the grahas, the planets, I'll call them grahas because that's really the right word for them.
Correct.
The grahas
Yeah.
have their own nature, right? For example, Surya and Mangal, these are hot and fiery planets, right, or grahas. And so they tend to be more pitta,
Yeah.
right? Whereas if you look at Shani, Rahu and Shani, they're more airy planets. So they're more Vata in personality.
Right.
If you look at Shukra or Chandra, they're watery. So they are very kapha in personality, right?
It's so
So
beautiful.
beautiful, right? And so you will
Yeah.
see that sometimes when I look at a chart, I'm always have an eye out for this to see that are the planets more in the rashis which are more pitta? Are they more in fiery or airy? Are the planets which are they like an airy planet in an airy sign will be a lot of vata, right? So
Right.
you are able to tell a lot from this aspect. Now, when
Yeah.
people have, for example, in the eighth bhava, which is the excretory, and then they talk about constipation, right?
I was just going to
So,
say the same. Yeah.
uh, and if they have a constricting planet there, like for example, Saturn or the drishti of Saturn or whatnot, you will see that they actually need something that will help reduce that constricting. And because Saturn is constricting, yet it is Vata and personality. So they even their elimination in the day could be very Vata type. Like in Ayurveda, that you check how a person sweats, what kind of
Yeah.
what the stools like, and that's a lot of information, right?
Of
If
course.
it is scanty and a person has problem emptying their system every day, so those are the houses that you need to address, including the asanas, because letting go. I remember when I used to do yoga, I have problems letting go. I mean, that whole,
Forward bends.
like I'm going to fall. So it shows that there could be a distrust or a lack of trust that something is taking care of me, right? Or, you feel like I'm going to fall or I'm going to hurt myself. So the letting go and relaxing, letting your body relax, it can be a problem for some people.
So just there itself, what you're saying. So, that's why the pitta and the letting go, I was just, it was just an intuitive way of connecting to the asanas for the forward bends, as I said, for the pitta. It makes
Right,
so much sense because, that's what you're talking about. And then when you connect it to the planets also, when you're talking
right.
about the fiery planets and the whole approach, the whole attitude of,
Yeah.
letting go is so, it's so intertwined here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, okay, on this note, I want to just ask you one question. So, if
Right.
there is a person who has an imbalance of, say, pitta in the body,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, so how the planets start changing that, and what kind of uh, you know toolkit would you give to them to cure that, and how would they be helped with that? Please give us your expertise on that.
Okay. So, I am not an expert in this, so just the disclaimer here, okay? But I can give you my own experience and the experience I see and what my teachers have shed light on, and something that I constantly am learning with great eagerness. I can't tell you the subject of Jyotish is, Ayurveda and Jyotish are both rooted in the Vedas, so they are extremely
Yeah,
sacred, right? So I approach it, I revere it, and I sit like a student in front of it. I'm no master of it, right? So, having said that, I can give you my own experience, okay, and what I've learned from my own teachers. Like, for example, if you have in astrology your ascendant as a fiery Rashi, for example, you're a Sagittarius, so you will be, it's a fire sign, okay, and and you will see the different vargas or charts in astrology without getting into the technical part of it. They tends to be, say, a fiery, you're a Leo in one. Again, fire. Okay. So there is a tendency, and plus you may have planets in very fiery signs like Aries and Scorpio and things like that. So what happens is that you you know that you have a Pitta orientation. So what is it that is weakened in your chart, for example? So for me, maybe the learning will come from the Kapha planets. Maybe that is what I need to learn. Okay, in my own astrology chart, I will say, okay, these are the areas, these are my bhavas, and these are the areas where I've yet to imbibe and learn. This is the challenging part for me. This is why I'm here. This is something I don't completely understand, these aspects of life. So Pitta person can be very creative, very forceful, can be quick to anger, for example, right? And you will see these planets like Mars will be very, things like
of
that.
course.
So I'm looking at what are these Kapha planets which I don't understand completely telling me. They're asking me to bring in patience. They're asking me to bring in love. They're asking me to slow down. They're asking me for a little introspection, service, because Kapha is very service orientated as well,
Yeah,
because they're so full of love, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so they give from the heart. So once I understood that about my chart and about my life, I said, okay, one is I bring in foods which are bring in a little bit of kapha. I engage myself in activities which will increase kapha. I will probably, like I said, slow down my exercise, did more slow walking, more mindful. Brahmari is something I did because I also have vata in my body. So I
Right.
started to really approach it holistically. And just today, I was realizing that I was a person who was always seemed to be in a rush. I was like one of those drivers on the street. They're honking all the time. They're in a rush to get to nowhere, right? So I was in a rush. Like I want to finish this off. And that tends to be my tendency. Predominantly, it still is. But I brought in a mindfulness, a pause. I can relax and do an activity. I can enjoy the moment. I don't have to think of where this is going to take me. I don't need to finish it off, right? So just like that, I feel it started remedying these aspects in my
by
life.
by understanding that.
Kapha activity is even prayer, right? Because
Oh
see,
yeah,
again, Jupiter is etheric in nature, but its sign is also Pisces, and it's watery also. So there is a lot of prayer, there's a lot of bhakti that can be brought about in a Vata and Pitta personality. And when you bring in
to
bhakti,
ground them.
yeah, bhakti is a kapha, it's a more moon, it's a more, Venus or Shukra,
Meditative.
yeah,
Yeah,
meditative, are coming out
yeah.
of love, right?
Mhm.
Coming out of love, of fondness. And that's why I started resonating with, say, Krishna as my deity as well, because he just exudes that love and that whole thing. So for each one, it's different. But as is answering your question, hopefully,
Sure.
is is
It is,
how
it is.
this is how you see it. This is how you go about it.
Before we move on, we had to answer a question regarding the age-related exercise.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
so for the person who asked for the age-related exercise, so since I think that was your mom, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, your
yeah,
mom. Okay, so
yeah.
since she is into a very Vata stage of life, which is post 50, 45 onwards, 50, when you head towards menopause, then you're going towards the Vata period of your life. So exercise should be gentle. I would say there should be more of strengthening your bones because the bones tend to get a little brittle. So there should be
Mm-hmm.
some kind of training which helps you strengthen your body a little more. So sitting down postures which involve your leg work, again your forward bends, and if you are able to physically do Surya Namaskars, it's the best thing that you can coordinate in a day. And walking, the most ancient form of exercise for a person, because that keeps your heart going in a good condition, and that is something that you cannot give excuses for. You can just get out and you can just walk.
Hmm.
And
Right.
pranayam.
Oh,
So in a vata, when we go in the vata period of life, the pranayam that you require is very something to bring about more heat in the body. So we emphasize more on breathing through the right nostril. So we block the left and breathe through the right nostril so that it creates a little more fire, and it also helps the digestive activity to work well in the body, because the digestion also starts getting a little weaker. And having
mm-hmm.
more warm stuff and the little concoctions of CCFT every day is one thing which Ayurveda always recommends. So exercise related is yes, it's just that, nothing much. Don't push yourself to what you can't do. Just continue with what you've been doing. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also, when you talk about Surya Namaskar, Puja, and you say that it is good for balancing all doshas, I also want to
absolutely.
say that one of the remedies for people who have afflicted Surya in their birth chart, and
Uh-huh.
a lot of people, you will hear a lot of people do give water to the sun, right? Because the sun is actually what signifies health and vitality in the body, right?
Totally.
And
Yeah,
Surya Namaskar would then become a great remedy for someone with an afflicted sun, for example.
absolutely.
As well as pranayam becomes a very, very good remedy for Saturn or Shani,
Uh-huh.
right? Because prana moves the prana actually uh, moves through the blocks, the knots, the karmic
Yeah,
knots in a way.
yeah,
And Shani is karma, the knots of karma.
correct.
So
Yeah,
in that way, it's really helpful. Doing your pranayam, your practices of asana is also a part of Mangal, because it's to do with the physical body, willpower, discipline, because Mangal is supposed to be, very good with tapasya, and he did a lot of tapasya. So while you do that, so much of your asanas, so much of your food and yogic practices that you are recommending here are so connected with remedies in your daily life. We call them remedies because, people, because it's out of the ordinary. Actually, the remedies is part of holistic everyday life, right?
Totally. It
If I
has to
did
be a
yoga
part
every
of
day,
our
I
life.
would probably be doing so many asanas that help so many planetary doshas and issues to start balancing, because I'm balancing my body, I'm balancing the mind, and I'm balancing these grahas. So it's it's it's
It's a
absolutely, it's a
holistic
remedy.
way, totally. Yeah, it's a remedy. Yeah, absolutely. And it makes so much sense, because the more deeper you dig into it, the more awareness you gain by what are you actually working on, and what is the benefit of all that you're deriving from each and every practice, of understanding them, when you're connecting all of them together. So it is really, really a very curious science, I would say, a curious knowledge of, you know, uh, just understanding it to the depth which is not mentioned, and I feel that Ayurveda has been misused in a lot of ways.
Right.
It's misused in a lot of ways because everything which has been extracted out of it, whether you say combining foods or colored foods or this taste or that, they've been extracted to convenience.
Right.
They leave out the basic part, but they extract out what is convenient for them. And Ayurveda doesn't come in the picture at all. It takes a
Correct.
back seat. They don't mention, even to the point when they say intermittent fasting. I'm sorry, I'm saying it
Yeah.
on line, but
Say
it's
it.
it comes from Ayurveda, right?
Yeah. True.
It's so weird that there's no mention of it. It's like all these fads which have become intermittent
Yeah.
fasting, this. But if you go and see how ancient people fasted, or how they healed their body through fasting, it was all about that. So
I mean,
what would
I think
be your views on that?
a lot of people would say, they keep Ekadashi fast, or they will keep, certain fast, like it
Yeah,
depends, there's Shiva's fast, but this is a way of cleansing the body. It's a very sattvic
exactly.
practice. And you would keep it in relation to the deities, because you would be engaged in sattvic activities, which helps you to spiritually evolve, to mentally evolve, physically evolve. So yeah, fasting I think has always been there,
It's
and
always been
yeah, and Pooja, we can talk endlessly on this, and
there. Totally.
we are almost out of time.
Yeah,
So
I just saw the time.
I want people to see this video, because we all are so vata in our personality. We don't have much attention span. We can't do too much, one activity for so long. I noticed
Very
that about my
distracted.
very
Yeah,
distracted, very the need
yeah,
for distraction. So
yeah,
I'm going to keep it at 40. This we are almost 45 minutes, or almost an hour into it. So we're going to, uh, but for people who've been watching this and will view it, I am very open to hearing their questions.
yeah,
And if we have certain questions uh, which create good content for us to speak about, we will definitely do this again. So
yeah.
I would urge everyone to take almost an hour out of their life and hear this in bits and pieces. I will tell people, okay, 1 hour of video is too much. Watch 15, 20 minutes, take a break, go to your cell
Yeah,
phone, browse Facebook, come back, and then watch again, right? So,
exactly.
hear it. And if you have any more questions, it would be great. Pooja and I can speak about it once again.
Yeah. We have 5 minutes, I think, to go. So go ahead and, shoot your questions at us. What would you like
Yeah,
to ask us? We can answer
yes.
you right now or else later.
Yeah, true. So you can even write the questions on Instagram, on the feed. Vata, Pitta, Kapha, great learning. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I will be uploading this on my YouTube channel, Pooja, which is
Okay.
Radhika Chopra. I always tell people Radhika, when they type in Radhika Chopra on YouTube, they will get a singer, who I'm not. Uh,
Okay.
so you probably have to put Radhika Chopra healing. I have some
Okay.
videos there, and a lot of interviews on different subjects. We've done an interview which didn't make it to YouTube, so you need to give me that, and I'll put it
Yeah,
on
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, yeah. I will. How to
And
identify Vata
how to
Pitta Kapha.
identify
Okay.
Vata Pitta Kapha. Okay.
So, that's a very long discussion. It's just that you have to, we cannot answer it in one line. But Vata, Pitta, Kapha is generally governed by different elements. Vata is governed by the air and the ether. Pitta is governed by water and fire, and Kapha is governed by water and air. So, this is how we identify it. But when you come to the knowledge of it, then it's a very, very deep learning. It cannot be given in a one liner to tell you, but it's important to identify so that you can understand yourself, because Ayurveda is a science of it's basically the knowledge of learning about yourself. So do some self research, I would say, and find out, and let us know what would you like to hear in the next session.
Yeah. So, then I think we will just wait for people to send us messages, and probably check on YouTube and things like that. And then we can definitely meet up and speak about more and if there's any other topic that you'd like us to talk about related to, you get the drift, what we are about. So, yeah. So,
Yeah, we can talk about everything actually if given the time, but we don't have so much time.
true, true. So thank you so much, Pooja, for joining me. This has been real fun, and hopefully informative for all the viewers, and amazing for me as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Radhika, for asking to, you know, have a conversation on this. It was absolutely a pleasure, and I'm sure there'll be more for us in the future. So thank you, all of you, and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye, and
Take care.
thank you, Radhika, again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.